Salam, ciao, bonjour, namaste.
Bienvenidos! Hey, my name is Jedley. Welcome to Reading with Your Kids. We're coming to you from the beautiful, spectacular, book-loving neighborhood of Reedville, the loveliest neighborhood in all of Boston. We are so very honored and absolutely delighted that you're joining us in our mission to help all families grow closer through reading. We do that by sharing fun, thoughtful, and thought-provoking conversations with fascinating people who just happen to be writing books for kids of all ages. Please help us spread the word about Reading with Your Kids by telling all of your family and friends about the show and letting them know that they can hear us on the WREB AM/FM 24/7 radio network. And they can find us on the iHeartRadio app, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Good Pods, YouTube, Amazon Music, Audible, CastBox, Player FM. Wherever you find your favorite shows, you can find Reading with Your Kids. Really wonderful show for you today. First up, Bianca Pierce is here to celebrate her debut picture book. It's called On the Ranch with Cowboy Luke. This is a really, really heartwarming story. And later in this show, Malia Monokea is returning to Reading with Your Prince to celebrate her brand new middle grade novel. It's called The Shark Prince. This episode of Reading with Your Kids is brought to you by Fart Boy and Reeky Dog Dino Doom. Fantastic new graphic novel written by New York Times bestselling author Joan Holub, who's written over 200 amazing books for kids. It's school sleepover at the museum. What could go wrong? Well, how about this? A snack-fueled explosion of garbanzo beans and peanuts unleashes a stink so powerful it brings the dinosaurs back to life. Now, Fart Boy, Reeky Dog, and their friends are in the middle of a dino-sized disaster. They have to solve tricky riddles, find missing bones, and stop the stinkiest villain of all, Professor Gravy Pants. Because if they don't, the dinosaurs could take over. Or worse, they could become Dino Dinner. This action-packed graphic novel is bursting with friendships, adventure, and enough laughs to shake the museum walls. If your kids love superheroes, if they love dinosaurs, and if they love to laugh until they can't breathe, then Fart Boy and Reeky Dog Dino Doom is the book for you. Because sometimes the power to save the world comes from the unlikeliest place. Grab your copy today and get ready for a reading adventure that's truly dynamite. Join us right now from the beautiful state of Colorado. Our guest is here to celebrate her debut children's picture book. It's called On the Ranch with Cowboy Luke. Please welcome to the show, Bianca Pierce. Bianca, how are you?
Hi, Jed. I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. This city boy is really curious about what's going on in the ranch with Cowboy Luke.
Absolutely. So On the Ranch with Cowboy Luke is a story about a real cowboy, a real life cowboy, and he takes young readers about what does life look like on the ranch. You know, all 4 seasons as a cowboy, and it covers everything from calving season to training horses, fixing fences, all those responsibilities that hard work that ranchers do.
Now, I know a lot of people are thinking to themselves, cowboy, that's stuff you see in the movies. But I know they're cowboys because my nephews who grew up in Boston became cowboys and moved out west and worked on the ranch and drove the cattle down to where the cattle would become hamburgers and all that other kind of stuff. And it was the most bizarre thing I ever heard of.
Yeah.
A couple of city kids, but cowboys, and it is a tough life.
It is. It's a lot of grit and hard work, and I wrote this book to really capture that for young children. You know, there's a page about the frosty winters and how cold it can be out there, and they still have to saddle up and go out and move cattle from one pasture to the next, or it's springtime and they're out there early in the morning checking on all those mommy cows having their baby calves and making sure that those calves are coming out okay. And it's long hours. It's just like any career. There are seasons where you don't get any time off of work, but long days, and a lot of times the weather can determine what those days look like.
Now, you were sharing with me before they hit record that this is an intensely personal book for you.
Mm-hmm. It is. So the backstory of why I wrote this book. So Cowboy Luke is our main character, and Luke is a real cowboy, a Montana rancher for the last 15 years, and he's my brother and unexpectedly passed away in March of 2025. And he left behind his wife and 2 young daughters. And when this shocking news hit us, I knew early on that I wanted to do something to honor his legacy. And this project started originally for his daughters. I wanted them to have something tangible to hold on to of their dad, who their dad was, but also what he did all day. And I have a little one that loves to dress up as a cowboy, but has no idea what cowboys do. And I realized we don't have a lot of books about cowboys. And when I started to explore the children's book landscape about what ranchers do and what cowboys do for little kids, there just wasn't much out there. And so that's where this story was born. And it became On the Ranch with Cowboy Luke. And I really wanted it to inspire little ones to dream big and to follow their passions, because my family was not an agricultural family. We did not grow up on a ranch. My brother Luke pursued that through his college degree at University of Wyoming and studying agricultural sciences. And so that is also part of the character of this book, is I want people to just dream big and follow their passions.
Yeah. Well, I'm incredibly sorry for your loss. It must have been devastating for you and your kids, and certainly for Luke's family.
Yes, it was.
It must have been. Well, what was the decision when you said, okay, I'm going to do this? I've never written a children's book before. I've never self-published a children's book before, but I'm going to do this for my brother, for his kids. And was it exciting? Was it terrifying? Was it all of the above?
Yes, I think it was all the above. Let's see, this was July of 2025, and I was falling asleep late one night and started writing out the book text in my head. And the next morning woke up, and I had put everything in my notes app on my phone, and I woke up and looked up self-publishing a book. And so I really had no background in this, never thought I would write a children's book, but it became very exciting and something that I wanted to do. Like, I just thought about it all the time. So I started looking into illustrators, and once we were in the illustration phase, our illustrator, Rosina, just did such an amazing job capturing Luke and his character. But those were just such exciting months of the sketch phases and approving sketches, and then getting to add color to them and seeing the book really come to life. So yes, I would say it was all the above. Exciting. For me personally, it was very healing. I think it was an avenue for me to help heal through my grief. And I just knew that this needed to be out there. And so many families have reached out that they have a cow-loving or a horse-loving child that won't put this book down, and that, reads it all the time, every single night. I'm getting pictures and videos, and that just brings so much joy to my heart that Luke can live on through that legacy. But he's, in this book, he's a character who gets to teach little ones about ranching and show them his horses and his cows. And he's got, jokes throughout the book. And one of the favorite pages, I have little ones, and one of their favorite things is to do like I Spy throughout books. So there's a page in the back, it's a seek and find page of all these little critters and animals that are hidden throughout the book. And so that you get to go back through the book and back through the pages and find, the bald eagle that's soaring through the sky, or the blue jay that's on one of the pages. So, yeah. Yeah.
You mentioned that it was a very healing experience for you. We've had a lot of authors come on who've wrote about their own grief and how that process healed them. This was so fresh, though. Your brother, you started writing this just 4 months after your brother had passed. This is going to sound silly. I apologize. But did you feel his presence with you as you were writing?
Absolutely. So when I was reaching out to illustrators, many of them couldn't start until summer of 2026. And I knew that I needed to see this project through sooner than that, and pretty immediately, for my own grief and for my own family. And like I mentioned, we are not from an agricultural background. So as I was giving our illustrator illustration notes, and what I wanted each page and each scene to look like, I'm going to share an example. Our book designer actually is a horse person, and she mentioned, hey, that horse has an English saddle but a Western bridle. And I thought, what does that mean? And I started looking into it, and here I was researching for hours what different bridles and saddles looked like and what you use them for. And I found Luke laughing at me because he could have explained this to me in 2 seconds. But here I was, taking hours of research. So I felt both the presence of him and the absence of him throughout this book writing process. But absolutely, he was there every step of the way. And there's a page, Luke had a very, very big sense of humor, and we were always laughing and we always had inside jokes. And so there's a page about him joking with his horses about a musician. What do you call a cow that loves to sing? And it's a musician. So I felt his presence throughout. And it was very raw. The grief was very raw. It was just very unexpected. I have three little ones. And so it was a challenging year. And, this does maybe seem soon as far as when he passed away. But like I said, I knew I wanted to do something to honor him. And, I did not tell, other than his wife, I didn't tell my family. His wife knew, my husband knew. But other than that, I didn't tell my family that I was writing this book, and I surprised them all with it on Luke's first heavenly birthday in December. So it really was a passion project, and that's just what kept me going on the late nights and early mornings.
Yeah. Tell me, did you come to feel closer to Luke as you were writing this?
Definitely. I think with grief and with death, whether it's expected or unexpected, you just want them back. You just want one more day with them, one more phone call, one more hug. And this was a tangible way that I could hold on to him, and that that our family could have him, and then for readers all over the world, that they could still experience ranch life through just pages and beautiful illustrations. So yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Other than learning that English saddles don't go with Western bridles, what was the most surprising thing that you learned in the process?
Learned about ranching, or learned about the book writing process?
Both.
Okay. That's a good question. His wife, Kelly, was absolutely amazing with answering so many of my questions about ranching and horse terms and horse ages and work dogs and all of those kinds of questions that I had throughout. I think I learned, like I said, I never thought I would be a children's book author. And so I just learned so much about that process throughout, about book editing, book designing, illustrating, how much work goes into every single page, every single illustration, how much time that takes, illustrators. I think now we're in the day of age where AI is all of a sudden kind of infiltrating illustrations, and just what goes into the integrity of a real illustrator. And like I mentioned earlier, Rosina just did such an amazing job. I think that would probably be the biggest thing that I learned, of just how much work goes into illustration and how many sketch phases. She was so amazing we were going back and forth on rounds of sketches. It wasn't 1 or 2 rounds. Some of the pages, it was 5 or 6 rounds to make sure we got the ranch right, got the fencing scene correct, or the lasso scene correct. So I think, as someone who didn't have a background in that was probably my biggest takeaway, was how much work goes into illustrations.
Yeah. You mentioned that this was a real healing experience for you, spending so much time with your sister-in-law, talking about your brother, learning about your brother. I bet you that was a pretty healing experience for her.
I think so. Again, a way to just keep talking about him and remember him for exactly who he was. And, you know, he was 36 years old. This was tragic and unexpected. So I think so. And so many of my back and forth with our illustrator, with Rosina, was sending real pictures of him. Every single outfit is one of his outfits, and his daughters are on one of the pages in the book. And just getting to kind of relive those pictures, those memories, you know, his horses that his family still has in Montana. I think so. I think it was just a way to have him live on, you know, in our hearts. And the days of grief that go up and down, and you think you're okay and then you're not okay. And to just be able to talk about him was very, very helpful.
Yeah. You mentioned that you have little kids and that there's a special page in the book that they really love. What do they think about the fact that their mom is an author now?
They're young. I don't even know if they know what it means. They were my little helpers throughout, and they would see everything on my screen, on my computer, and they did not realize it was going to be a real book, you know, something that they could hold. So they were so excited when they opened it up and they were like, this is a book. You know, I don't think they understood that something that they see on a screen. But they were just my right hand throughout the process, and having, you know, a 3-year-old or a 5-year-old's, input was actually really helpful as I was reading pages. And the page where Luke is training the horse, you know, they looked at it and they said, that horse looks mad. And thought, well, that horse isn't supposed to look mad. You know, Luke's training him with kind, calm ways. So we had to go back with Rosina, with the illustrator, and make that horse look a little happier. And she put a nice little smile on there. So, I think now I think they are starting to understand, and, you know, they have a lot of questions of, who wants that book? What are you signing that book for? And are they buying, you know, and they're just at that age where they don't understand, but, it is really special, and it's really awesome to see them now know it word by word and be able to read it out loud to me, which is really fun.
Well, I think one of the neat things that could come from this book is the fact that your kids are going to see how important your relationship with your brother is to you, and hopefully it will strengthen their bond with each other.
I think so. One thing my mom told me when I was younger, so my mom is one of 3. She's got 2 brothers, and then I am one of 3. I have 2 brothers. I have Luke and then a brother, Nick. And we are all very close and always have been. But she told me when I was younger, you know, she actually lost her little brother. Luke's older than me, so he's my older brother, but she lost her little brother. And she always said, when everything's gone, that's all you have is family. And that's all you have. That's all that you have left. And it's so true. And in that shocking, you know, finding out that Luke had passed away, and in those weeks that felt like years that followed, all that matters is family, you know? And so as a young mom and with young kids, it's like, how do I foster those relationships so that they do love each other and they do grow up wanting to spend time with each other, even when they're outside of the house. And, you know, my memories with Luke, it's like, we'll be on a family vacation and a memory will pop into my mind of a family vacation of him and I with this one inside joke that no one else knows. And, you know, I just want to send him a text and, you know, laugh with him about that. And, just the importance of family and the people you love. And really at the end, nothing else matters.
Yeah. Well, one of the ways that we know the kids grow closer together is by reading with them and having conversations with each other and with their parents. What kind of conversations would you want kids to have and families to have as they're reading On the Ranch with Cowboy Luke?
It's a great question. I mentioned earlier, I really want to inspire kids to dream big and follow their passions, because that was something that I admired so much about Luke. Is we did not come from horses or agriculture or acreage. And Luke really followed that passion, and he did what he loved, and he got to call it work. I mean, he truly loved every minute of what he was doing on the ranch. So I think for kids, I want to inspire kids to to follow their dreams and to dream big and know that you can do hard things. You can do what you set your mind to. But also to build character, whatever career you might choose down the road. I mean, there's different characteristics that you're going to need hard work, or you're going to need grit or honesty or integrity. And I want that to come through in those pages, but to have those conversations. And when I was floating around ideas, what to do with those last few pages, like I mentioned, the seek and find page where kids get to go look for all the little animals. One thing I thought about was putting characteristics in there. If you were a cowboy, what kind of characteristics would you have? Or what kind of horses would you have? What color? What would you name them? Those kinds of conversations where you can get kids curious and talking about imagining what their life could be like, and just kind of sparking that imagination.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I would love, if my kids were still young, we'd be talking about, Cowboy Luke, he helps put food on our table.
Mm-hmm.
If it wasn't for people like Cowboy Luke, you wouldn't be enjoying that hamburger or that steak or those eggs. And I think there are adults that need that message, because we're living in a time where it's just like, yeah, go to the supermarket. Where did that come from? I don't know. I don't care.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And I think, like you mentioned, today's day and age, I don't think we know what goes into a piece of meat or through, ground hamburger that you're buying to make hamburgers with. And it is years and years of hard work and skill and getting the tenderness right on those cattle before they, go off to the next phase of their journey before they turn into steaks. And not all of them do, some of them do have a really peaceful life grazing, and bulls that get to stay on the ranch for a long time. My favorite, I've have memories of visiting Luke up on the ranch. Our family's from Colorado, so I'm here in Colorado, but when I get to go up and visit Luke, it's just so awesome to see these mommies with their baby calves, just grazing peacefully. And there is, I think, also a question of where does our food come from and what are they eating? Because what they're eating, we're eating. And it is really cool to kind of help spark those conversations for adults too, like you mentioned.
Yeah. Awesome. I love it. So you wrote this book to heal, to be a memory to your brother. Mm-hmm. Sounds like you had fun.
Yeah. Writing the book.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was really cool to see the creative process and to see those illustrations come to life, to involve my children, to just see Luke he would think this is the coolest thing. I think if he was here, he would just think, he would be so honored and think this is really cool. 'Cause he was so in love with his profession and, just getting to be outside in the great outdoors and the wide open skies. And that was his entire camera roll, was his family, was his daughters, and it was being outside horseback, so many of his viewpoint of life was on a horse, and, so I had a lot of fun throughout the process, especially the illustration process, just seeing those come to life and the bright character and the bright coloring, just, I think was probably one of my favorite parts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I truly believe that Luke is here. He's looking down, and I think he has a big smile on his face. And I have a feeling he'd like Cowboy Luke to have a second and a third and maybe a fourth and fifth book.
Hey, I never say never. It was a lot of work, and in the moment I probably would have said no, but now that we've launched the book and it's been launched for almost 4 months. It launched in January and it hit bestseller on Amazon that first week. It was up there with some pretty big titles. So that was really exciting to see. And you know what? Maybe we'll have a series of Cowboy Luke. Maybe we'll have a book 2 or 3 to go along.
Well, that would be awesome. Hey, where can we go, Bianca, to find out more about On the Ranch with Cowboy Luke and find out more about you?
So we've got a website. It's cowboylukebook.com. On there, you will find links. So the book's available on Amazon, Target.com, BarnesandNoble.com, all of your big retailers online. I also do personalized copies through Etsy as well. But your cowboylookbook.com, that's going to take you to all of those links and give you more information about the illustrator, myself. As a children's book author, I went a different route. Instead of having an author website, I have the website about Cowboy Luke, because that's what this is all about for me. I actually asked our book designer, like, do I even need to have a bio? And I don't even want my name on the book. And she said, no, you need all of that, because otherwise people could think it's AI that, did all of this. And so that's where I want the focus. But yeah, you can find more about all of that. We've got free coloring pages on the website as well. So you can go there and download coloring pages for your little ones. Yeah.
Awesome. We've had a great time speaking to the author of On the Ranch with Cowboy Luke. Our guest has been Bianca Pierce. Bianca, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Hey, my friends, if you are like so many people I know, one of the favorite parts of your morning is that first quiet cup of coffee before the day gets rolling. And recently, I discovered a company I think a whole lot of our Reading with Your Kids family, you're just going to love it. It's called Afuera Coffee Company. What really caught my attention is that Afuera works directly with local farmers in Central and South America, especially in El Salvador, a nation I adore. And all their beans come from certified Rainforest Alliance farms. So you're not just getting incredible coffee, you're supporting ethical farming and environmental conservation too. And friends, this is not ordinary supermarket coffee. These are specialty, hand-selected beans grown in rich volcanic soil, and you can taste the difference. Smooth, rich, aromatic. Whether you love a bold espresso or a lighter roast, they really do have something for every coffee lover. Another thing I love, their packaging is compostable or recyclable, and 5% of every sale goes to charities that help preserve the great outdoors. Because they're sponsoring Reading with Your Kids, I arranged an exclusive 15% discount for our listeners. Just head on over to afueracoffee.com and use the promo code READ at checkout. And yes, when you use that code, you're also helping support the podcast. So great coffee, helping farmers, helping the planet, and helping Reading with Your Kids. That's a pretty magical combination right there. You know, one of my favorite family memories growing up, and honestly still today, is gathering around the grill in the summertime. Good food, kids running around, laughing, maybe somebody reading on a picnic blanket while dinner cooks. There's just something magical about it. And speaking of cookouts, I want to tell you about a company our family has been enjoying called Big Fork Brands. Now, friends, this is not ordinary cookout food. Big Fork makes incredible bacon sausage, craft jerky, meat sticks, and those amazing Chicago-style sauces that instantly level up burgers, hot dogs, fries, all your cookout favorites. Their bacon sausage is kind of legendary. They combine hardwood smoked bacon with premium pork and create flavors like hickory and applewood, maple and brown sugar, and spicy 3-pepper. Honestly, it sounds fancy, but it's really just fun, delicious food families can enjoy together. And another thing I really appreciate, they work with small Iowa farms, raising heritage hogs outdoors without any antibiotics. So there's a real commitment to quality and sustainability behind everything they make. So here's my challenge to you this summer. Plan a read together cookout night. Fire up the grill. Put the phones away for a little while. Enjoy a great meal together. And end the evening reading together as a family. And to help make it happen, Big Fork Brands is giving our listeners an exclusive 20% discount. Just head on over to bigforkbrands.com and use the promo code READ at checkout. Great food, great conversation, great books. That sounds like real magic to me. My friends, I am excited to welcome back our guest. She is here to celebrate a brand new series. The first book in the series is called The Shark Prince. Please welcome back to the show, Malia Mauna Kea. Malia, how are you?
I am so excited to be here today, but I might be a little stuffy.
That's no problem at all. Tell us, you had such a successful series that we celebrated in the past couple of years. This is a brand new series. Who are we talking about tonight?
We are talking about The Shark Prince. It follows 13-year-old Nohea through his adventures And yes, I'm very excited to have a whole new protagonist, a male this time. And he's going through some things, unfortunately. He found out that his dad turned into a shark and ate someone. And now he has to deal with this family curse that means that he may be the same kind of person.
That is pretty, I gotta know. Where in the world did this idea come from?
So there's actually a legend. It's a really fun book idea because when I went on a tour to schools on the west side of Oahu and was showing the children there my book cover for Lay 2, Lay in the Invisible Island, there's a big shark featured prominently on that cover. And the question I got from the students was, is that Nanaue? Is that Nanaue? And I said, no, it's his dad, Kamahoali. They're like, oh, you got it right about Nanaue. Nanaue is a legend that takes place. The setting changes depending on who you talk to, but it can take place on the west side of Oahu. And he was the son, the offspring of the shark king, Kamahoali, and a human woman. And he was born as a human boy that had a shark face birthmark on his back. And he had been warned to never eat meat, never eat meat. And so his mom never let him eat meat. But when he went and ate with the guys fed him meat. He got the taste for meat, essentially, and he really tried to do the right thing, but eventually he ended up eating some of the villagers, turning into a shark. The villagers were not pleased with that, and depending on which story you read, either they killed him or he ran away. So, of course, I wanted to write about that legend and pay homage to that legend. But what would happen if that happened today? Like, what would happen if Nanaue was a kid in today's time? Would he be able to withstand that temptation and that urge? So that's what I explored with this story.
Wow. Yes, I know you have a deep love and respect for the Hawaiian culture. And it sounds, am I right in thinking that there are different stories from the different islands?
So, yeah, Lay 1 took place on Hawaii Island, and it focused more on the gods and goddesses that I grew up with prominently on Hawaii Island. And the Shark Prince is taking place on Oahu, which is, actually, it's set on the west side of Oahu, which is where my dad's side of the family is from. So it's been fun to kind of explore the different islands.
Yeah, it must be. I know in, my beautiful wife's originally from Puerto Rico, and I know even though it's a fairly tiny island as far as islands go, there are very big differences between San Juan and Ponce and Mayagüez and Fajardo. The cultures, the geography is very different, but the culture is also very different. I find that pretty cool and also pretty fascinating.
It's fun going, like, if you want to go super far back and watch, for example, the Chiefs of War series that Jason Momoa just came out with on Apple TV. It's one thing that I've appreciated watching in that series is how each of the islands were their own kingdoms back in the day. Like, there was a chief for Hawaii Island and Hawaii Kingdom, and for Oahu and for Kauai, and like Maui had a couple different islands. So it's great. I just had the opportunity to present at a school on Kauai, and it's May Day is May 1st, and a lot of the students put on hula performances paying homage to different chiefs and kings. And at this particular school, you know, they talked about Kamehameha, but he wasn't the great hero that I grew up being from Hawaii Island. He was the great conqueror who, you know, conquered all the islands and brought us all together and unified us. But if you're from an outer island, that's not necessarily the story that you're told growing up. So it's great having all these differences, having all of these stories, having all of these very strong cultural tales, and all the different little places people are.
Yeah, boy. It must be exciting for you thinking, well, I have this series and, I just have to mine the Hawaiian culture and I can keep writing series for the rest of my life.
It definitely feels that way at times. And then at other times I'm like, okay, I've covered like the main ones. What do I do now? But it's tricky because I haven't talked necessarily about like the main four gods, as it were. And I've kind of talked more, not about lesser gods, but gods that I've heard more about their tales and their adventures, like Pele and Kamopua'a, and now talking about Nanaue. I don't know if I'll ever go after like the big four or what that would look like to bring them into contemporary times. That would be a fun challenge.
Yeah, boy. How does it work? I love talking to creators about their process. Is it you run across a story and you think, wow, I can really have fun playing with this? Or is it like, do you sit down deliberately and say, okay, I want to find another legend that I can sink my teeth into?
It's fun because this book really did come about because of the kids on that one school tour, like demanding essentially to see Nanaue in a story. I was like, this is great. Yes, I will run with this idea. The second book, Lay 2, Lay 1 was just my childhood and what I was most familiar with growing up. Lay 2 required quite a bit more research because I wasn't sure where I wanted those legends to branch into. So that one is a bit of a deeper cut. And I think went into legends that most people are not as familiar with, which was really exciting to me. And my mom actually just sent me an article about invisible islands, essentially, that I had based it off of. I was like, yes, that is exactly what I put in the book. Thank you, Mom. But for my next book, I'm going... Hopefully, we'll see. It's not announced or even a thing yet. It's just in my head. I'm hoping to go back to exploring some of the more common gods and goddesses, but in a twisted new way. And it could be very fun. We'll see. We'll see. So it totally varies where the ideas come from.
Tell me how audiences that you present this book to in the States compare to the audiences in Hawaii that you present for.
Fun. I have had the pleasure of presenting both to a couple schools in San Francisco, in Mill Valley specifically, and on Kauai, both just last month. And I would say there are more similarities than differences because fourth and fifth graders, third, fourth, and fifth graders and sixth graders, but in the schools that I met with, it was primarily third, fourth, fifth, just want a good story. They want a good adventure. They want exciting characters and death-defying tales of heroism and jumping through fire or swimming through crashing waves. And the Hawaiian legends, they're just a great backdrop for that character's experiences. And being able to share that, folks on the continent don't necessarily know Greek legends versus Hawaiian legends versus anything. A story is a story. Let's give them something wonderful and let's use our writing chops to develop that world so vividly that they can relate to it and be immersed in it regardless of if they've ever been to Hawaii or Greece or anywhere. That's the fun of writing. And then when you're in Hawaii, I guess the difference is there is some level of familiarity with the scents, like with the smells of the plants that I'm describing, with the foods that I might be describing. Like, I know I haven't eaten most of the things that are described in many fantasy books, but you can kind of get a sense of what they might taste like. Whereas kids in Hawaii, you'll be like, oh yeah, I've had that flavor shave ice before, or I've had that. I know what a spam musubi is like. You know, there's that, I would say, is the biggest difference. And they can maybe pronounce some of the words better, but I didn't know how to pronounce. I still struggle pronouncing words and names, but I make them up in my head, and that's fine for all readers to do.
There you go. There you go.
And I've got all those pronunciation guides on my website now, so you can always go and listen to how to say it.
Awesome. Do you have a favorite flavor of shave ice?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, I love, well, it does change from time to time. I just discovered lychee and lihing moi is amazing together, but I do love strawberry and lihing moi.
Okay. Down in Puerto Rico, they call it piragua. And I love a mango.
Yes.
And my niece is originally from El Salvador. And I forget what they call it in El Salvador, but she took me to a place and she had somebody make her special flavor. And it was pineapple and hot chilies. And it wasn't pleasant for me. She loves it.
That's great. Huh. Do they have the option of putting ice cream in the bottom?
They put condensed milk.
Oh, over the top?
Over the top. Yeah.
Yes. We have the condensed milk kind too, but we also have the option of doing ice cream in the bottom, which I really like.
Yeah. Oh boy. And I'm actually thinking of going to Puerto Rico. I'm looking forward to it.
There you go. Yes. The snacks are the best part about going home. Like, go travel, get yummy stuff.
I remember the first time I went to Puerto Rico, I was on my honeymoon, and my wife said, "Oh, you have to try a ganepa." I said, "What's a ganepa?" It's a piece of fruit, and it has a hard skin. You have to break it off, and you put it in. You kind of eat the flesh, and then that comes with a big seed. You throw, and it was amazing. I almost choked because I didn't know how to eat it, but
yes, yeah, they're memorable for sure.
Absolutely. How important, you mentioned doing a lot of research. So how important is it for you to get the culture right and to communicate the culture to an audience that's, like you said, maybe never heard of Hawaiian stories or Greek stories, but the kids in Hawaii know it. So with that responsibility, how important is that for you?
So important. It's of the utmost importance because in Hawaii, these legends are our histories, and there are family lines that have descended from most of these legends that are still alive today and still recognize these people as family. So I want to do my very, very best to represent these heroes as accurately as possible based on the research that I've done, while also putting in the back of the book that this is a work of fiction.
Yeah.
Any fallacies or, errors in character are all because of me and because it being fake. And I promise I did not mean to hurt anyone's feelings. And that was really the biggest, scariest part of coming out with any of these stories to begin with, was being so scared of the backlash or misrepresentation or fallout that I could have faced by doing someone a disservice. And I never ever want that to happen because I care so much for these stories and only want to help them live and help them be read by more people in the next generation and be a starting point for people to do their own research and their own, hey, this character seems really cool. I wonder what they were really like. Great. go find more information on that. I'm just introducing you to them in my own little fictional world. Dive in. It's a great place to be. That's what I'm hoping.
There you go. This sounds like a great book for a family to co-read together and then talk about on the way to school, at dinner time. What kind of questions and conversations do you think families can have as they're experiencing this book together?
Oh gosh, so many. So with the Shark Prince, it really covers a lot of bigger subjects. So generational trauma and toxic masculinity. What does it mean to be a man? Are you allowed to cry? Like what do you do with all these big emotions inside of you when you're not sure how to process them, how to present yourself, how to relate to other kids your own age? What do you do when you're getting bullied? How do you handle those negative interactions? How do you handle trying to make friends at a new school? How do you handle your mom saying you might have to move from the only place you've ever known and go live somewhere else, and money's tight and your dad's gone, and like so many big crummy things that might feel overwhelming? And do you just become the thing you fear and lash out, or do you figure out a new way to funnel those emotions and harness your energy into something more healthy?
Yeah.
And I think that's something that people of all ages can always work on processing and reflecting and being like, what was a time that I could have reacted differently? What was a time that I felt like I could really bite somebody's head off, but I took a moment and thought, maybe I need some time to myself. Maybe we need space. Do you like to talk it out, or do you want space to process on your own? Like all of these, yeah. I think folks have different coping mechanisms, and it's good to discuss and figure out what works for you and in your family, what works for your family, so that we all know how to cohabitate together peacefully.
Yeah. What a great service your book could do for families to kind of have those kind of conversations.
Yeah, I hope so. It's been helpful for our family, I can tell you that much.
Tell me, putting in so much work, so much time, research, obviously love and emotion into a book, it has to change you in some way. How did writing this particular book change you?
Like we just kind of talked about, knowing your own emotions and your own coping mechanisms and your own triggers, and recognizing what to do when triggered. Like, it's very good, I think, to check yourself every now and again and be like, okay, yeah, that's how I feel when I want to break out of my skin. And somebody doing that to me would make me see red. And what are those pieces of me that I've tried to shove down? And okay, great, let's bring them to the forefront and talk about them in a book. That's healthy. So that's what I like to do, apparently. I guess that's part of being me.
I think that's a pretty cool thing to be. So you were mentioning your next book, that it's not a thing yet, but you kind of is it a work in progress yet?
So there's two kind of out there. One is much more of a thing, is a YA historical novel that it's not like a thing, but it's like in the form of a draft. It's been written, now I just have to make it good.
Okay.
Which, give me another 10 years, we'll get there.
Yeah.
The other thing is a middle grade idea that is not even a draft yet. It's just floating out there in the ether, that I would love to create, because I think it's going to bring two very unlikely people together and have them rely on each other in ways that they hadn't previously done before.
Okay, great. Hey, I'm just curious, because I don't know if I mentioned this in our past conversations. I traveled the country for 35 years doing my educational magic shows, and we get questions when we're in front of kids. We get questions, and for me, it was mostly like, well, how did you do that trick? And it's like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Magician can never tell his secrets.
Right. But you always get this, that one kind of crazy off the wall question that either makes you laugh or really makes you think. What about for you? Is there one interaction with the student that really stands out for you?
Oh gosh. For me, the most fascinating, it had nothing to do with writing. But a kid was asking me how much money I made. It was at a slightly older, it was a middle school instead of an elementary school. And they really wanted to know if an author made enough money to have that be their only job. Because I said, that's my full-time job. I'm a writer. This is what I do now. And I said, it's a lot less about how much you make and more about how much you spend. There's two sides to that equation, and there are people that are very happy all along the spectrum. Mm-hmm. So I recommend finding books on finance, and one book that helped me when I was still in college, just graduating, was Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And one of the kids in the back of the room opened up his backpack and pulled it out of his bag and said, "You mean this book?" And I could never have, what? Why do you even have that book in your bag right now? I was like, yes, actually, absolutely. Everybody pay attention to him. He's going places because he's already reading the book and doing the thing. So yeah, that I will never forget that kid had that book in his bag.
That was cool. Well, you mentioned your website and the pronunciation guides. Let's tell everybody where they can go to find out more about the Shark Prince, learn where they can get the pronunciation guide and learn more about you.
Yeah, my website is maliamaunakea.com, and you can find me on Instagram at maliamaunakea as well.
We've had a really great time speaking to the author of The Shark Prince. It's a brand new middle grade novel from our guest, Malia Mauna Kea. Hey, Malia, it's so great to see you again. Thanks for being back.
Thank you so much, Jed. This is wonderful.
Hey, we hope you've enjoyed this episode of Reading with Your Kids. We'll join us for the next exciting episode of the show. If this episode made you smile or gave you something to think about, please think about leaving a 5-star review. Share a link to the show with someone you love, and of course, subscribe to the show wherever you find your favorite shows. It really, really helps. We appreciate it. Also, we'd love for you to connect with us on social media, facebook.com/readingwithyourkids, at Reading With Your Kids on Instagram, at Jedley Magic on X, our YouTube channel, youtube.com/readingwithyourkids, and our website, it's readingwithyourkids.com. If you are the author of a fantastic children's book like The Shark Prince or On the Ranch with Cowboy Luke, please be sure to visit readingwithyourkids.com and click on the Authors Click Here button up at the top of the page. That's where you can learn how to be a guest here on the show. Being a guest, it's fun, it's easy, and it gives you the opportunity to tell thousands of Kidlet fans all over the world about your children's book. Believe it or not, Reading with Your Kids has been downloaded to every single continent on the planet, including Antarctica. Want to thank the folks who made today's show so wonderful, starting with our guest, Bianca Pierce. Please be sure to check out On the Ranch with Cowboy Luke. Also want to thank Malia Mauna Kea. Please be sure to check out The Shark Prince. I want to thank my incredible team, and they are incredible. Chris Doherty, Daylene Rose, Advina Lopez, Ella Badier. I want to thank my beautiful wife, who is also incredible, for all the love and support and friendship she has given me. Wow, we've been together for over 36 years. Incredible. I love her so much, and I'm so happy to have her in my life, have her in my corner. And we're so very happy to have you in our corner, too. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. As always, I want to thank you for taking the time to make the world a better place. And believe it or not, you do that every single time you read with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next episode of Reading with Your Kids.